Welcome to the Steve Kenyon Podcast. Our featured interview this week sponsored by Classic Equine and Classic Ropes, and it's Tyson Durfey, who is world champion tie-down roper. He won a gold buckle in 2016, 14-time NFR qualifier, broke the ice for Americans to win world titles in Canada. He was a Canadian champion 3 times, and I doubt very seriously we're going to talk a lot about roping in this interview, but we'll see where it goes. Hey, Tyson, how are you?
I am phenomenal. I'm excited about it. I've done literally thousands of interviews, a lot of them from you. That's like, tell me about your run. And then I elaborate on, how I did. So this is fun. This is something that's, not new to me. So I'm excited about it.
So here's what when I reached out to Tyson, here's what I had in my mind as to where I wanted this to go. And I don't often start an interview by saying, here's what I think we're going to talk about, because frequently with me, we don't talk about any of it. But you aren't rodeoing as hard as you used to, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
You've committed your life to your family, to your businesses, to other things. You are one of the best motivators that I know. I'm just going to start right off the top by saying I follow Tyson Durfey a lot, especially on Facebook, because I'm not smart enough to make Instagram work, and read just his stuff and his commentary. And you frequently post something on Instagram or on Facebook, Tyson, that is a question or is a motivating reel or something where you ask, what are you doing to make your life better today? And it always seems like it falls exactly in my lap at exactly the right time. And I don't know if you hear that from a lot of other people, but to me, you've gone from being one of the best ropers in the country to being one of the best motivators in the country. I should probably let the guest talk now. Your reaction to that?
Honestly, I'm humbled, I guess would be the biggest thing. Is I try to be the guy that I never had when I was younger. And for many years of my life, I was not Mr. Optimistic. I was not Mr. Motivation. I was not Mr. Hey, happy-go-lucky smile all the time. Like, I didn't believe in myself. I had insecurities. I worried constantly, felt constantly like I wasn't good enough. And I realized one day, and it's a long story, that I could basically be the kind of person that I wanted to be simply by acting it out. Yeah. Just acting it out. And I'll be honest, Mr. Happy-go-lucky that put on the smile one day and didn't look back for about the first couple of years was an imposter. Like, why are you smiling? You're not actually that happy. And then people that I knew also would say, hey, Tyson, you've changed. What's going on with you? What do you do? This is a fake. And now 20 years later, that guy is who I am as a human being deep down in my heart and my soul. And I just try to be the guy that a lot of people don't have. Somebody that will be kind to them, but also somebody that will shake them up a little bit and say, hey, what are you doing? Stop wasting time.
Tell me what you're doing today. Are you rodeoing at all?
None. I retired.
You're focusing on business interests now.
Yeah, businesses, speaking. I'm doing a ton of public speaking, different youth rodeo associations, corporate things. Been doing a lot of that, but really I'm focused on building my real estate portfolio, speaking, what I believe the world needs: cowboy truth, cowboy work ethic, cowboy motivation. Raising my kids. I got 3 amazing kids and an amazing wife. And we've recently got a really nice barrel horse. So we are going to be rodeoing a little bit this summer, but I'm retired. I'm done. And I always felt like when a guy retired from rodeo, he just disappeared and you never heard from him ever again. And I don't want that to be me, but I understand that struggle. Retiring from rodeo is probably one of the hardest things that I've ever done. And I can firmly tell you, the hardest thing with rodeo, being a professional athlete, is quitting. Yeah. It's not winning the championships. It's not smiling for the cameras. It's not any of that. You think it's hard when you're doing it, but the hardest thing that you would ever do as a rodeo athlete is stopping, is quitting, is going on to that next chapter. And I can honestly tell you, I've struggled with it for a couple of years, and it took me a couple of years to be able to verbalize it and say it out to the world. It's freaking hard. I'm going to tell you that.
A lot of athletes leave their sport in team sports, and I've heard this from rodeo athletes too, and they say the hardest thing is missing the guys in the locker room, missing the other guys that they competed with and against. Can you put your finger on that?
Yeah, 100%. I think the hardest thing for me is loss of identity. When I was a little kid, all I wanted to be was the best calf roper I could possibly be. And eventually that grew into enough confidence to make the NFR. And then eventually it grew into enough confidence to set my sights on a world championship. And so that was my North Star, going to the arena, competing. And I enjoyed everything that went along with it. I enjoyed the guys. Heck, there are times at rodeos, I just enjoy getting back there and helping out anybody that need help, like loading cattle. numerous times I would get back in the back pen and help people load cattle. I'll be like, and of course you got some rookie guy that's never pushed a steer, a calf in his life, and he's just covered in crap from head to toe. I'm like, hey man, you mind if I just jump back there and show you a couple like easy things you can do to not get kicked and not get crapped on so much? And so I just enjoyed everything about it, from the competition to the dirt in the arena to people like you, the amazing people that I met along the way. I enjoyed and loved everything to do with it. As I got later in years, the only thing I didn't like was leaving my family. And that for me was the straw that broke the camel's back. I couldn't be Mr. Greatest athlete in the world traveling 250 days a year and the best dad. Now, some people can. I just couldn't. And so at my age, I decided, I took a couple years of thought. I said, I'm going to step away. I'm going to go do another thing. But loss of identity was hard. And it was a mixture for me because there was a lot of people that I really love. The best memories I had in my life were at rodeos and the people I met through rodeo. But I decided, I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm not going to be on the stage winning the gold buckle anymore, but maybe I can help support other people in pursuit of their rodeo dream or of their dream, whatever it is. And that's really what allowed me, was less focus on myself and more focus on others. And it just seemed to like open the door a little bit.
So what's your identity today, Tyson? Your identity was world champion tie down roper.
Yeah.
Your identity was one of the top 15 in the world. It was the guy who always wore pink. What's your identity today?
Wow. I would say the cowboy motivator, and the cowboy businessman. Obviously, my wife and my family and my God come in front of everything else, as always, even when I was roading. But other than that, it's the cowboy motivator, the cowboy businessman. Like, put a cowboy hat on and attack these other things in life, just like I attacked winning in the arena. Full tilt, 100%, all in, and literally just don't take no for an answer. That's how I made my first NFR, finding the right people to help me get from A to B.
Yeah. Tyson Durfey is joining us, and Tyson and I have known each other for, 20 years, more or less. I think we all had a chance to kind of watch. There's a progression, I think, in the rodeo business with especially guys who reach the elite level and ladies who reach the elite level, where you're young, you're all in, you're going to enter everything. And then you meet somebody and then you fall in love and then you start a family and then it starts to get hard to leave home. And then you still want to compete, but you're trying to work that balance out. Am I right in what I just said?
For almost all rodeo cowboys, that is what it is. And I'll be honest with you, the rodeo lifestyle is hard to leave. And there begins to be a point sometimes, and I've seen it a lot, where guys can go the full tilt 100% rodeo lifestyle and everything that it entails, from the after parties to the fun, or they can go to their family. And I watched that transition too many times, where guys would choose to continue rodeoing past their prime. And then maybe they start having a little bit too much fun. Maybe they, go to the beer garden a little too much and met somebody else. And I just would not do that. I was like, okay, that is not going to be my lifestyle. That's not going to be me. I'm going to do as good as I can in the arena. And then I'm going to do as good as I can in my family. And exactly what you said is like the progression of almost every single rodeo cowboy. Towards then you have a decision. Am I going to go take care of business at home, or am I going to continue chasing this lifestyle? Not that lifestyle, there's anything wrong with it, but for me, it was hard when I had the family, and I faced that fork in the road that a lot of rodeo cowboys end up facing. And I tried to do it as best as I could. And I'll be honest with you, I see why cowboys talk about their glory days.
Yeah.
I see why, it's the old men in the coffee shop with all their cowboy hats on, sit down and talk about what they did, because it's such a fun time. It really is a fun time. But to me, I always have the attitude, like, the best days are the next days. Mike Johnson, for those of you that are listening to this, might know who Mike Johnson is. I certainly do, because he revolutionized my life and the way I rode calves. He said to me, Tyson, tell me what the best rodeo and the most important rodeo of your life is. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe Cheyenne or maybe Salinas or the NFR. And I'm thinking very like tactically, what is and he said, Tyson, it's the next one. The next rodeo is always the most important rodeo of your life. And when I left the arena and started chasing life, I just looked at it as like, that's my next rodeo. That's my next run. And there's a lot of cowboy wisdom in that, knowing when to step away and start something new.
My only goal for this video is to add value to your life. And guess what? If I add value to your life, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and share this video. And also, go ahead and leave a comment below. If you think this video rocks, let me know. If you have a topic that you want me to cover another video on, leave it in the comments below. These videos are made to make you better. So I want to serve you at the highest level.
I want to kind of morph away a little bit from some of the actual rodeo stuff that we've been talking about, because what you just said, to me, Tyson, an awful lot of what you have just said, when you say what's the most important rodeo in your life, it's the next one. You can insert any word in there other than rodeo. What's the most important event? What's the most important thing that's going to happen? And there are philosophies of rodeo that become philosophies of life.
Yeah.
That sound weird, or did that make sense?
It's what I call cowboy wisdom.
Yeah.
And we can get into ranch cowboy wisdom or rodeo cowboy wisdom, but it's just cowboy wisdom because you learn it through the school of hard knocks, or you learn these lessons. And, if a person's wise, they'll take what the old cowboy said and put it into use and maybe avoid some of those knocks themselves.
Yeah. Tell me about the various business opportunities you're involved with. There's a website called No Limits Membership where you kind of help to coach and mentor breakaway ropers and tie down ropers. But your wife, Shay, has got her name on a couple of great businesses. I have a knife sitting over here I should grab and show you that Martha Josie sent to me that Shay made. There's a buckle hanging on a belt up here from the Gooding Pro Rodeo in Gooding, Idaho. That's I think is it Shay Baby Buckles or Shay Michelle Buckles? You and Shay have created great businesses together.
Honestly, and this is a more of a tactical lesson, but I learned this a long time ago. I was like, how can you vertically integrate what you do and who you are as a human being into some type of business models? And my wife, by the way, is way smarter and way more talented than me. I'm like every smart man. I marry way above my pay grade. And we realized a long time ago that being a rodeo cowboy doesn't pay that great. It looks like it does from the outside.
Yeah.
But when you got to buy $100,000 truck and a $200,000 trailer now and $100,000 horse, you roll a lot of dollars, but what is the profit of that? And my wife, being so savvy and so smart, had a belt buckle company when we started dating. And long story short, I was just like, hey, I should start calling on some associations and seeing if we could get some of their business. So we did that. And then a few years later, we get married, we're having kids, we're doing all this stuff. I'm thinking, baby, you are such a designer. I mean, just with her music, she's had 5 number ones in Australia and 2 platinum albums, had a top 20 here in the US on CMT, Country Music Channel, and our country music television back in the day. I'm like, you are an artist by design. So then we started Shay Baby clothing line, and that's been going on for 8 years now. Above and beyond that, I'm like, hey, I like media. Let's try to mentor some of these younger athletes in the roping. So we started No Limits. And then we continuously have invested in real estate, any profits that we had over the last decade and a half, and just kept building and building and building that. And that's really everything that I have has come from the Western lifestyle. Everything that I have has come from the rodeo environment. And there are so many opportunities for a young rodeo athlete, whether you're a world champion or not, to build a business that fits within that lifestyle, because your customers are people who know, like, and trust you already, because you carry yourself with integrity and you have a firm handshake and you're honest. And when you do that, it makes it so much easier to build wealth in the rodeo business. And it's not just the people who are world champions, but it can happen for anybody if you just go back to those good old cowboy ethics. And I call it vertically integrate in this system and people that you correlate with.
When you go to a junior rodeo association, a high school rodeo association, somebody's tough enough to wear pink luncheon, wherever you've been, what is your message to young potential rodeo superstars when you're talking to them? What are the 2 or 3 things that you want them to take away? And are there 1 or 2 pitfalls you try to warn them off of?
100%. If I'm talking to Youth Rodeo Association, number 1 is don't judge your real life based on what social media is pointing at you. If you think that life is what you see on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, that's not reality. That's not even true. That's one message. I have several stories to tie that in, get young people over that hurdle. The next message is do the work without your parents having to tell you to do it. If you know there's something inside that you should be doing, don't wait for your parents to tell you, go do it yourself, because you think right now that, oh, my parents are going to tell me to go clean the stalls or they're going to go brush my horse. But you taking that action without them telling you is so much more than what they're telling you in that moment. It's a representation for the rest of your life. It means doing above and beyond what you're expected to and above and beyond what you're paid for. And if you carry that throughout your entire life, that is the recipe for being a freaking champion, not only in the arena, but also in life. And so those are two main messages for youth. Another one is I don't like people comparing. Don't compare your horse to their horse. I don't have enough money. They've got all the money for the big rig and the big horse. I'm skinny and weak and that guy's big and strong. The comparison is a trap and it just pulls you down. And I have several stories that tie this in, but those are three main messages I try to get through to the younger people because they're stuck in social media land.
Speaking of stuck in social media land, I'm looking at your Facebook page and I'm looking at a post you put up and you say this: negativity always spreads faster and further than positivity. It's a proven fact. That has to tie into everything you just said.
Yeah. Why does the news, why does the media? I mean, everything is negative, 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 negative. It's always negative because they know that drives attention. It's like if I was to get into a big, huge fight with some other well-known athlete and post it all over social media, what would that do? That would grow very quickly, right? Especially if it was public.
Viral.
Yeah. But if I say, holy crap, Shad, that was the best run I've ever seen in my life. Good job. How much is that going to spread? It's not going to spread.
Right.
It's going to be just like Tyson just said, Shad made a great run, whatever. But if I called Shad out and I'm like, good, blah, 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 that would spread so much further. And so we have to be careful what we put in our mind. That's why I refuse to say anything bad about other people. I don't verbalize it. And then the second thing is I understand when there's a narrative behind what I'm being fed. Okay, if I'm being fed this and it's uber negative, why? Why would I do that? Is it going to make somebody better? Is it going to lift somebody up? Is it going to make me more money? Is it like, what's the narrative? And so I call it thinking on different levels. I look deeper into it and say, all right, that doesn't serve anything. I'm not going to waste my time on that. And from my estimation, a negative statement is at least 7 times more powerful than a positive one. No, how can you talk negatively about yourself on a consistent basis and expect a positive result? It's not going to happen. In the beginning, God created the world with a spoken word.
Yeah.
So if we're speaking negatively to ourselves, we're not going to produce positive fruit. You have to speak positivity to yourself, even if you don't feel it, even if you're upset, even if you're negative, start speaking positive because eventually that will take over your mindset.
We're about to launch into a political, we're into a political campaign season.
Yeah.
And sometime in the next 3 days to 8 months, we're all going to be looking at our televisions going, my God, I'm tired of these negative ads. We get fed that during an election campaign we all complain about it, and that's what they run.
Well, this is the reason they do it is because it works.
Yeah.
If human beings would retrain their mind not to listen to that BS, not to listen to that, Jerry Springer, Oprah drama kind of environment, then they wouldn't market the news that way. It's individually up to us to reprogram our mind, and then the world comes from outside after you fix what's inside. Yeah. Now, why does Trump say mega big things? Well, number one, he's a New Yorker. I've happened to spend a little bit of time in New York City. I proposed to my wife there. I have a lot of friends there. I've been on many business trips to New York. That's the way they are in the construction industry in New York. So that's Trump at his core. That's how he was raised. But he also does it because it bolsters attention. It gets him attention. I happen to like the President Trump a lot. I met him a couple of months ago and got to spend a few minutes with him. I am a firm supporter. But what I'm saying is, if that didn't gain attention from society, he wouldn't do that. He would change his tactics because he's a smart businessman. And so would the rest of media. And so to me, the problem is not the media. The problem is us. And the great thing about it being us is we're in control and we can fix it and we can change it. It's not everybody else's problem. It's our problem. We change us, then the world changes. That's the way it goes.
Hey, do me a favor. If you like this video, let's you and me make a deal. Let's shake hands. Yeah, that good, firm cowboy handshake. If you like this video, do me a favor. Share it with somebody. Subscribe to the channel. And my end of the bargain, I will bring you everything I know about being a high performer, a world champion, and an entrepreneur. If that sounds like a fair deal, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment too, because I'm going to answer every single comment that comes in on this video.
So that leads me into another. I wanted to just offer a couple of things that I've seen that Tyson has posted and said. this was on February 16th. You wrote this or said this. Instead of asking yourself, why not me? You should be evaluating what actions you are taking, what your attitude is, and what you are doing every day to achieve your goal. This is no secret. It can be you. You just have to put in the work. And that is one thing that I can tell you firsthand from watching Tyson Durfey in action for a lot of years. He always put in the work. And if you're working harder and smarter than everybody else, you can't help but succeed, can you?
I mean, I'm a firm believer in it. The issue with that is people want results super fast now. And it's very hard to continue on a path that you feel that you're supposed to when you don't see a lot of results. The thing is, you have to chip away at the stone. You have to put in consistent days and weeks and hours and months and years. And the way you do that without getting accolades is you should actually love what you do.
Yeah.
Like, I love my God, I love my family, and I love the Western lifestyle, the rodeo lifestyle, the cowboy lifestyle. And I would go to my grave for any one of those. I love it that much. And so if somebody jumps on me because I posted a picture of me and President Trump, or I posted a picture or whatever, I literally just don't care. I'm not swayed by what other people think. And I think that's part of it. There's two-pronged approach there. It's consistently doing what you love day in and day out, but then it's also being so called in your mission that it doesn't matter what other people think. Because remember, our negative minds, if we get 10 comments on a post, will always gravitate towards the one negative one. And it will overcome all the positive. But if you're a trained person, you have mental toughness, and you know what your mission is, you feel called to do it, then all that other stuff is just noise. It doesn't matter. Much like a rodeo athlete going to compete. If you know you're meant to go compete and it's your passion, it's your desire to go, even if you come from no money and your parents weren't rodeo people and you're trying to get in this lifestyle and it's hard, if you feel called to do it, even if people say you should never do that, you're not good enough, you're not going to make it, you didn't come from a rodeo back, you should stay on that path, because that path was eventually what's going to give you the happiness and fulfillment that you've been searching for your whole life. It shouldn't be taken away by the little pipsqueaks, right? Online, the Ron 27 or the negative Nancy 34. Like, these people don't even post anything. Like, they don't even have a damn photo out there.
Yeah.
Like, why do we care what they think?
Exactly.
Right?
You'd have laughed at me. You've known me long enough. You'd have just laughed at me. During the NFR this year, I was doing a show every day on Next Gen Rodeo Media with Lindsay Rosser Sumter. And Lindsay's a college rodeo coach. She's an awesome lady. And little secret about Steve, frequently I will stumble or make a mistake and I will flip the microphone off and just growl at myself, and then I'll flip the microphone back on and go. And she literally a couple of times kicked me under the table. Nothing but positive self-talk here. And I really needed to listen to her. It kind of became, after a while, it kind of became a joke. I would just do it just to see if I could irritate her. But, she really made a good point, which is, okay, so you said instead of aw one time. Just get over it and build a bridge and move on with it. And that's kind of what you're saying here is keep it positive, keep it real. And I think we all spend so much time walking around with these things in our hands anymore, staring at them, that, we kind of forget about the real world outside that little screen.
You know what? Here's the deal. There wasn't digital media. There wasn't a phone. I'd be sending you a newsletter in the mail. If it wasn't a newsletter in the mail, I'd have my own magazine. If it wasn't my own magazine, I'd be writing a book. I feel compelled to go out and motivate, lift, push, and inspire the Western lifestyle and people who are chasing after Western lifestyle, because I know how hard it is. This is hard. It's not easy to be a cowboy and to make a living at it. It's one of the most difficult things I think that a person can possibly do. And I think it's those people who need the most motivation and the most help and the most discipline, the most guidance, because just like you said, yes, we're influenced by what we see on the phone, but we're also influenced by people who kick us in the shins on the table. We're actually in contact with us. Says, hey, pull your head out.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, only positivity here. And so it's maybe a little bit of media. Maybe it's a book. Maybe it's a magazine. Maybe it's Lindsay kicking you in the shin saying, hey, get locked in. We're going to go do something great today. Yeah. And it's all forms. It's all forms. And I've surrounded myself with that kind of people my whole life. Well, not my entire life, but since I was a grown adult and I lived on my own and I moved out and I was able to be 100% in charge, I've seek those kind of people out. One man was Fred Brown from Washington. I moved from Missouri to Washington State to work on a ranch for a guy whom I thought was a mental genius.
The first few years you made the NFR, you were riding one of Fred's horses, weren't you?
Yeah, the first 2007, 2006, I basically had maxed out my credit cards and my credit line, and I had $200 to my name. Plus, I think I was about 25 to 30,000 in debt, and I was in Canada with a borrowed horse and a borrowed trailer. Now, the borrowed horse I got from Fred Brown, and the borrowed trailer I got from Fred Brown as well. The money I borrowed from the bank and credit card companies, but I didn't even have enough money to come home with. Like, unless you've rodeoed enough to where you have spent all your money and all you can borrow, and you don't even have enough money to come home on, you don't really know what pressure is.
Yeah.
The only way it could have been any more pressure is if I had 2 little kids and a wife there that were starving to death. That would have been a lot more pressure. But I called Fred that night. At this point, I'm sleeping in the backseat of my truck. I call Fred. He's my mentor. He lent me the horse Rolex. He lent me the trailer to get up there with. I said, Fred, I got like $250 to my name. I am credit cards maxed out. This is the second time I've lost everything rodeoing. The first time I had saved $30,000 in cash and I lost all that rodeoing. And then now, not only did I lose everything I had, but then I had discovered credit and I lost all that too. And I called Fred. I said, what am I going to do, Fred? I'm in tears. I'm that upset because I'm not like 18 at this point. At this point, I've gone through a lot of failure. And he's like, Tyson, you're going to be fine. He's like, focus on the outcome that you want tomorrow. Make a good run. It's not that big a deal. You're a resourceful guy. You can weld, you can shoe horses, you can frame a house. Like, you will figure out how to get out of this. And I'm thinking, oh man. He's like, but whatever you do, focus on the outcome. Focus on what you want. So that night I went to sleep in the backseat of my truck in Innisfail, Alberta. I'm thinking about winning. I'm thinking about how it's going to be great when I actually have a little money. And I go and I win 3rd in the first round and 5th in the second round and 2nd in the average. I leave there with like $4,000. And then from that rodeo on, I placed in 19 out of 21 rodeos and won a Canadian championship on his horse Rolex in his trailer that he borrowed me, or he lent me because I didn't have any money for a trailer. And the next year I made the NFR on Rolex and rode him at the national finals. He was anxious. He was like 19. But the point is, the power of an outcome, it will pull you out of the negative state that you're in if you will force the visualization into your mind. I'm going to have enough money. I'm going to be able to eat. I'm going to win a championship. I can do this. And then not only you visualize it, and this is a step I learned later on in life, that if I tied somebody else's happiness to me doing well as also visualizing what I wanted for myself, but then visualizing how amazing it made my wife feel when I win the American, when I win the world championship, when I win this rodeo, when I can buy a steaks, when I can whatever. Because a lot of times we will put ourselves last, especially mothers do it all the time. They put themselves last and they put their kids ahead. And if you can tie the most important person to you in your life, you can tie it mentally to their success and how happy they'll feel, it will pull you through the negativity. A couple little tricks that I use, but Fred initially taught me that.
I had never thought of it in those terms, Tyson, but that makes so much sense. I was thinking as you were talking, I've interviewed Casey Field a bunch in my life, and Casey's always talking about, I write down my goals, and we all know what Casey accomplished: 6 world titles, more NFR go-around wins, more money than any bareback rider ever. And he's always got his goals written down and right in front of him. And as I was listening to you talk, I thought, Steve, you really need to do that. You need to write down 3 or 4 things. And the next thing you say is, and tie somebody else's happiness to it. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And always pick the person whom you love the most. So for me, it's my wife, right? Or it's my children.
Right.
And so I think about how they will feel if I accomplish it. Because for me, let's be real. If I was left to my own devices, I would eat nothing but ho-hos, drink Coke and coffee 24/7, never work out, and sleep in every day and stay up till 2:00 in the morning. That's me. I'm not naturally a hard worker, because once you have enough money or whatever, it's easy to get sloppy and lazy. But if you say, Tyson, you're going to fail your wife, you're going to fail your God, your kids are going to look at you like a failure if you don't do this, then Mr. Sign me up. I'm ready to get in and take action. And so a lot of people, I think, are that way as well. They put themselves on the back burner, and if they tie their success to the way to make the people they love the most feel, then they will take action in on a whole nother level.
If you're a person who's struggling with getting the momentum and getting the ball rolling, I have something amazing for you. It's called the Cowboy Challenge. Down in the description below, I want you to accept the challenge, the Cowboy Challenge, to give you momentum, to give you resiliency, to give you mental toughness, to go on and chase life. And you can check that out. There's also a ton of free stuff in the description below.
Tyson, I know you've got another appointment, so
Good.
I'm thrilled about the time that I've had a chance to spend with you. Let me ask you a couple of final questions, and I'll let you get on with the rest of your day. But when you're talking to a 16-year-old potential future roper, and there are a bunch of really talented young 16-year-old ropers out there, or even younger, that I've had a chance to see at some of the tie-down ropings I've announced and things like that. Do you start to talk to them when they're teenagers about, okay, you need to think about someday you're not going to be competing anymore, and what are you going to do for a living? What are you going to do to continue to not just get by, but continue to prosper in your life? Do you talk to them about it talk to them about that topic when they're that young?
I do, because I mean, for me, it's number one, I know your dream and your passion is go be the best calf roper. And guess what? Go do it. Like, go do it. But you should have also some other income vehicles. So when I was young, I was like 10 years old or under, we'd go to all these rodeos. And guess what there was? There was a bazillion beer cans everywhere. My dad, we would go to these amateur rodeos, and they were just a big party. Essentially, that's what they were. So I'm being me, and I'm like, hey, I need money, right? And that belief got put into me because we had no money.
There's a nickel can lying there on the ground.
Yeah. And Dad's like, you need some money? Go pick up cans. I'm like, yes, sir. So I would go take trash bags to the rodeos. I'd pick up all the cans, and I'd make $100-$150 a rodeo, just like literally filling 10 trash bags up full of cans and then recycling them. That was an income vehicle. After that, it was training horses. Time I'm 13, I'm getting $500 a month to ride a horse. Yeah, sign me up. I'll ride 4 or 5 of them a day and make me $2,500 a month there. By the time I'm in high school, I could shoe horses. So I'm getting $50 a head to shoe one. I can go make $200 a day doing that. Then after that, I'm like, oh, I can buy real estate and it can make money for me. I don't actually have to bend over to make a $30, $40, $50. So what I'm saying is, for the youth, yes, I talk about making money right now. If you ask my 7-year-old daughter, and she knew this at 4, I say, baby, how do we earn money? She'll respond to you, working hard and providing value. What does money earn? Money earns interest. Yes. And only if we do what? We save it. My kids aren't being trained to just be consumers and to blow every dime they have and to live broke and all this crap. My kids are being trained to understand money, but then how to earn it, as well as, hey, let's be a singer. Hey, let's be a rodeo athlete. Like, I have one daughter I think will probably be a great barrel racer, and she loves horses. She eat up with it. I got another daughter that wants to sing, play guitar, play the piano. Like, she's a performer. My son, I don't know what he wants to be. He says he wants to be a bull rider, but we'll see.
Yeah.
While they're chasing those dreams, I want them to have income vehicles while they're not broke. I think about my wife. She signed a record deal in Nashville, having breakfast with Taylor Swift, hanging out with celebrities. Guess how much money she was making? 0. Because celebrities most of the time are broke. Right. But she said, I need income. Let's have a belt buckle company. Well, her family had been in it for 20 years. It was an easy transition. So yes, long-winded, but to answer your question, I think every young person that is out there rodeoing should, number one, be working on their craft, whether it's calf roping, bulldogging, bull riding, barrel racing, goat tying, whatever it is. But you should also be thinking of some kind of income vehicle that can give you the ability to make money to go do those things.
You have, in the course of this conversation, at least 3 times mentioned your faith. I know for a fact that has played a very important role in everything you have done for longer than I've known you.
Yeah. I mean, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is the reason I'm still alive. Let's be clear. I never was a mean person, but I like to drink. I like to party. I like to womanize. I like to do all that stuff, much like a lot of young rodeo cowboys did. And I know right now, if I hadn't have found the Lord, I would be addicted to alcohol and probably an alcoholic. I just know me, right? Let's be clear. And My God is why I do everything now. It's why I always put a smile on my face. It's why I work hard. It's why I'm spending time with my family. It's why I do the best I can to be a great father, a great husband, a great business person, a great influence to other people. Like, it's the foundation of everything that I do. And I would challenge those people who maybe are living on their own and don't think they need any help. Just crack the Bible just a little bit. Read it. Let it begin to get a hold of you. I'll tell you a quick story. In 2003, I'm in Red Bluff, California. I'm a rookie. I am enjoying rodeo and I'm winning a little bit. I'm partying a little bit, having fun. I go get a free cowboy lunch from the Cowboy Bistro. Right. And it's Ted and Linda Weesey. And Ted, who's passed away not long ago, is a great man of God and somebody I love very much. And his wife is just incredible. They're amazing human beings. They gave me a Bible in 2003. And I promise I won't bore anybody here, but they gave me a Bible in 2003. Guess what I did with it? I threw it in the glove box of my truck. And it sat there. And every year I'd get a new truck because I'd wear it out rodeo and I'd transfer it from one truck to the next truck, to the next truck, to the next truck, to the next truck. Finally, about 2011, I meet my wife. She says, "Are you a Christian?" And I said, "Baby, I'll be whatever you want me to be." You dang right I'm a Christian. I believe in Jesus. Sure. Well, see, what I didn't realize is that the devil believes in Jesus too. And her asking me if I'm a Christian and me lying to her straight up to her face gave me this thought in my heart that maybe I should just at least read the Bible a little bit. So I cracked the Bible, start reading it. I'm like, whoa, this is, Proverbs is crazy. Commit your work to the Lord and all your plans succeed. Well, I'm working hard trying to be a cowboy, Proverbs 16:3. Well, maybe this will work out. And I read Proverbs and then I read Psalms and then I read Ecclesiastes, all this stuff about wisdom. I just wanted wisdom. I didn't really care about God. I wasn't really interested. But then my wife would ask me, "Are you a Christian?" "Yeah, baby, I'm a Christian." "No, don't you worry, darling. I'll be whatever you want me to be. Just don't leave." Much like a lot of guys. But what happened is I read the Bible because of Ted and Linda serving thousands of cowboys for free for decades on the road. That Bible saved my glove box. Because of my wife asking me if I'm a Christian, because I lied to her, I felt bad in my heart. I decided to crack it and start reading it. Once I did, God got a hold of me. Yep. And guess what happened? The worst rodeo career of my life, or the worst rodeo year of my life, the year after that. After I became a Christian, I got saved, and it was a test. And guess what? I said, "You know what, God? Yep, I'm with you now. I'm not going to be doing any of this stuff. I'm not telling the dirty jokes. I'm not drinking and laughing and chasing. I'm none of that. It's all gone." My friends, who I thought were my friends, they kind of would give me a hard time because I didn't do any of that stuff anymore. And then I couldn't win anything. It was the only year I tried to make the national finals. It did make the national finals. But what I'm saying is, yes, when you get saved and find the Lord, things may get tougher. But if you stay hooked for a year or so, it will get incredibly better. After that year of trial, top 5 in the world. Next year, world champion. Next year after that, knocking on the door, world champion. Get a great horse. Get married to my wife. Have amazing kids. Like, if I watch my life post finding my faith, it's like this, right? The line graph is going up, but in all actuality, it was this. It was up and downs, but my faith is definitely the backbone of everything that I do. And it keeps me moving forward and trying to help.
Tyson Durfey joining us, and you can follow him on social media. The interesting thing, everything you just said about the Bible, and I'm thinking of my background and about your faith. It seems to me like when I take a look, I'm not sure if this is the one that Ted and Linda gave you, but I've had this one in my
that's awesome
suitcase and everything else with me for a while now. And Ted and Linda Weesey touched a lot of lives. They touched thousands of rodeo athletes' lives, and it was more than just free food; it was free savior.
Can I just give you a quick story? Do you mind? I don't know how long you try to make these or not.
Tyson, I'm more worried about you getting to your next appointment, to be honest.
Well, I want to tell you a story, right? So I grew up very poor. We didn't have any money. Parents, unfortunately, got divorced, and we'd go for a week without food and electricity sometimes when I lived with my mom. Like, we didn't have any money. And so I thought everything was about money when I was younger. So basically achievement. How can I achieve more? How can I be better? How can blah, 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 blah. Right. Well, I met Ted and Linda and I see him feeding all these cowboys. And the first thought that popped into my head was like, somebody's lining their pockets, right? I had this belief because what little money we did have when I was young, my mom would give it to TV preachers. So if we had a credit card that had a $2,000 limit on it, she would watch the program and then she would max out our credit cards and give all our money to TV preachers. So part of the reason we didn't have any money was because she would just constantly give it to these TV preachers. Now, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. I'm not going to call out any names. I'm just saying that I had that belief because of that's my childhood. And I thought if, people are out there talking about God, it's because they're making lots of money. That's it. So I see Ted and Linda. I'm like, oh, they're getting tens of thousands of dollars to come, to Reno Rodeo or to Red Bluff, and they're getting rich. So I, one day I'm like, hey, can we go out to dinner or something? I'd just like to visit with you guys. And they're like, yeah, of course. And so we got to dinner. I'm like, so I'd like to understand that, in my mind, I was like, I'd like to understand the economics of ministry. I'm like, how do you guys afford to travel in your truck and feed all these cowboys and all this stuff? And they're like, well, we believe that God will provide. I'm like, what does that mean? Like God provide is like Reno giving you 100,000 or something like that. That's what I'm thinking in my brain, but I didn't say it out in the world. I'm like, how do you afford? And they're like, well, we believe God will provide. And then they go into talking about how nice it is that this committee gave them free ice and a free place to plug in. And then how this committee maybe donated some ham or some bread. And I'm like, you're not getting like 10,000 a row to do this? And they're like, no. And I'm like, what do you mean by God providing? What does that even look like? They're like, well, we believe that God through donations, maybe people, cowboys, that we'll have enough money to go and to do this. And Ted and Linda fixed my belief about money and religion and God, because I watched them dedicate their lives serving cowboys for decades and make enough to get to the next rodeo, to never to have a massive abundance, never to have abundance, but always enough to serve the cowboys and to help the cowboys. And I watched them do it for decades. And guess where my tithe check went when they were on the road? It went to them, because I knew that it was a struggle. And these people dedicated their lives. And I just think that a lot of people get, twisted, maybe like I did, where they see a TV preacher that's, potentially flying around on jet airplanes and living in a 20,000 square foot mansion. My thing is, I like to help those who are dedicated to the cause and believe. The TV preachers don't, but Ted and Linda Weesey fixed me on that. I realize that there are true Christians that really want to serve. And I think somebody should be financially okay while being in ministry, but man, their life of service is incredible. Ted passed away not long ago and it literally crushed me. And Linda's still texting now, but we need somebody to fill that void in the rodeo business. We really do, because these cowboys are out putting their life on the line, and we put a lot of emphasis on winning in the arena, but eternity is so much more important. It's so much more important.
Tyson, before I let you go, what's next for you?
Speaking, motivating, pushing, inspiring, trying to lift people up, consistently going to wear a cowboy hat while I'm doing anything and everything that I do, whether it's belt buckles, helping my wife on the road, rodeoing, any and all that. But that's kind of the mission, everything under a cowboy hat.
From Tyson Durfey, the equation to building confidence is simple. Do more than everyone else, put in more hours than anyone else, push yourself farther than the rest, and you will be successful. Tyson, thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Do me a favor, like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. I truly will read every single comment on this video. And guess what? If you want to watch another amazing video, check this one out right here. I know that it will serve your life. Take care. Adios.